Why have we been sold on this lifelong healing journey? I'm going to tell you why. Because healing is a myth. What you're attempting to heal from is an illusion. It is imaginary. You cannot heal from an imaginary ailment, an emotional state that comes from childhood. The reason being is the notion of healing continues to propagate the illusion that there's something to heal from. Have you noticed that when you think something's wrong with you, you get triggered into rumination? How much time do you spend analyzing yourself, analyzing your past, living in fear-based avoidance of success, of failure, of rejection, of judgment? How much energy and focus do you put in to avoiding the judgment, the control, the domination? How much do you experience having anxiety when you are in social environments, when it's your turn to speak? How much are you holding yourself back at work? How much are you suppressed by a manager? How many people are still attached to their narcissistic parents and needing to try to be good enough to avoid the guilt? How many of you are adults still trying to take care of that toxic mom out of some form of duty? How much do you know intellectually that your emotions do not align with reality, yet you're still dominated by those feelings and attempting to overcome them anyway? Look at how much effort you put in to believing in yourself, to preparing yourself, to trying to rebuild your confidence. And then what's the end? You see, the end is a fantasy, and that fantasy causes collapses, because as you embark in the game of life, avoiding rejection and abandonment, you propagate the circumstances for your next abandonment and rejection. That there's nothing to fear but fear itself was a profound and powerful statement, because psychology's failed to articulate that fear is not just an emotion. It is a neurological phenomenon that originates in the animal fight or flight reaction. That your triggers, like abandonment anxiety is nothing more than separation anxiety that causes young animals, until they reach maturity, to follow around the mother. And so when you're doing that as a human adult, you are engaging life from the context of an abandoned child. And if you took a look at the experience of being not enough, you will see its origins around the age of 5 years of age. That became the basis of our education system. Like where you are only good enough if you get grades that are better than other people. Where we have not identified the confusion has nothing to do with an inherent intellectual deficit. You are afraid of knowledge. You are afraid of learning, because that is what the education system has done to everybody. Where when confronted by knowledge, our egos threatened by it because of all the anxiety and work that went into trying to keep up, traumatized everybody. And that is so perfect, because it disables people from being able to independently think and access the very creative centers of the mind that the people who generate knowledge write the books about. And so people are memorizing things and closing their mind. People are forming dogmatic attachments to themselves. And we have all of this psychological knowledge that has become so commonplace, yet it is so ineffective. That it is really the case that there is no healing. The reason why everybody who's on this healing journey has to maintain some positive attitude, like people that say they're healing, have you noticed anybody that says they're healing already conjures an inherent notion of futility in you? That if somebody says they're healing, you already know that healing is a euphemism for repetitive suffering. Healing just engenders a sense of hope. The same hope that got you in the circumstances that you're healing from. While you were trying to avoid abandonment, idealizing people, living into a fantasy future of being proven, of being finally good enough, your avoidance of fear-based abandonment is what cements you in a relationship and enables you to be subjected to devaluation and manipulation, where you will feel not enough, like a child that is trying to achieve love through validation. And because you have these profound fears and you think you need to be perfect, you can't be perfect. And so you never, ever overcome this. That there is no amount of money, cars, love, there is no amount of validation that satiates this. And so that is why we have all this infidelity. That is why we've been conned into believing that we have all these emotional needs and that we have to have some referee. Insects don't need a therapist. Monkeys don't have therapists. No other animal deals with abandonment fear as an adult. No other animal fears rejection and failure to the point of disability. That these emotional paradigms are so unnatural that if you took the average human adult emotions and you gave it to any species, they don't have the cognitive power of a human mind that can sit there and battle itself. Like, how much are you fighting yourself to cattle prod yourself because your emotions are avoiding? You see, you want to understand the irony of using a fight or flight reaction and projecting that onto a woman who's looking for love. That you're so afraid of being rejected by her, you become a victim. And so our avoidance of rejection, our avoidance of failure is the same not good enough that makes a rabbit run from a fox. That people jumping off buildings because of stock market crashes demonstrates this phenomenon. That literally just having an emotional state that is repeating is literally a pathology, because emotions were never intended to be self-directed, that a relationship to yourself has no power because it sticks you in your head, because you're analyzing and not conscious or present to the gift of life. You live in a someday. Well, you'll be present someday when you get enough money, when you've proven yourself. And then you look at this inflationary environment that this mentality's created, where people are willing to step over each other to get ahead and claw each other down and trolling and negating. And it's causing so much cognitive dissonance, dissociation, where people are clamoring to cling to some framework of understanding reality because we all inherently know something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong with this modern system. What is the benefit of this whole dream if all it leads to is ecological disaster or war, ongoing conflicts, because everybody's in some narcissistic crusade or pursuit to compete for no reason at all? That this gift of life is infinite, that it continues, that the sun continues to come up, all the resources recycle. And if we were to have ecological balance and have reasonable economic systems that are not about enslaving people in debt, you see, the debt cycle of modern consumption is what's fleeced the American government and American population to make billionaires. So there's people with billions in accounts, and then there's everybody else that is in debt forever. And that is unnatural. That has no necessity in a world of technology and machines. But rather than letting machines do the work, we give you more machines. And so you work harder, and your money goes for not even as far. And so this entire paradigm is something that is coming to a rapid conclusion, but people are like the violin players on the Titanic. We don't need to fear the future. We don't need to avoid the elephants in the room. But we have to wake up, because we're going to need our consciousness. We're going to stop needing to be victims. There is no revolution for this. There is no correct political party. There is no type of government until we overcome these nonsensical emotional states as a civilization, this will be it.